What if freedom isn't something we win, but something we remember? What if your soul already knows how to be free, but the world taught you to forget? He wore no crown, led no army, and conquered no nation, yet his words stirred revolutions. His poetry, soft as a breeze, moved like a tidal wave across continents, not through power, but presence. Rabindranath Tagore wasn't just a poet, he was a soul in rebellion. It's not rebellion for the sake of destruction, but a refusal to shrink. He refused to believe that the purpose of life was survival, or that the soul was meant to stay confined by borders, rituals, or fear. He whispered what we all secretly long to hear, that we are not meant to be small. The spirit was made for vastness. That true freedom is not given by governments. It is found in the way we see, feel, and belong. And perhaps most radically that art, not war, is how civilizations are reborn. Because for Tagore, freedom was never just political, it was always spiritual. Tagore was born in 1861 in Calcutta during one of history's great crossroads. India was under the grip of British colonial rule. But at home, he was surrounded by something else, a storm of contradictions, a dance of worlds. His father was a Brahmo Samaj reformer, a mystic who meditated in the Himalayas and sought universal truth beyond ritual. His home was filled with music and debate, sacred chants and progressive ideas. This tension, the ancient and the modern, the Indian and the Western, would become the thread of his life. From a young age, he was encouraged to question everything, to feel deeply. Traditional school for him felt like a cage. He compared it to a factory, suffocating, mechanical, blind. So he wandered through forests, through poetry, through silence. Nature became his classroom, the sky his ceiling. He read the Upanishads, texts that said the divine lives not in idols, but within. He read Shakespeare and Shelley too, discovering in the Romantics the same yearning for beauty and transcendence. He was Indian, but also global, rooted, yet always expanding. Even as a boy, he lived in paradox. And he grew to see that truth wasn't always found in certainty. Sometimes it lived in the spaces between. But freedom, especially inner freedom, is never granted. It's carved out through loss, pain, and the long, slow burn of awakening. Tagore knew suffering intimately. He lost his mother while still a child. Later, his wife, two of his children, his father, and closest friends. Grief was not an event. It was a presence that visited again and again. And yet, he did not retreat. He transmuted it. In his poems, grief became beauty. In his music, sorrow became worship. In his prose, he searched for the eternal within the temporal. He asked, if life must end, if joy must fade, why not let it sing while it lasts? This was not some sentimental fantasy. It was a fierce spiritual defiance, a refusal to collapse into despair. He believed that the soul, when wounded, must not close, but open wider. That true strength was in surrender, not to weakness, but to wonder. Pain did not make him bitter, it made him boundless. And in that boundlessness, his words became bridges between suffering and meaning. To Tagore, freedom was not a slogan, it was a way of being. He saw clearly the brutality of British rule, but he also saw the danger in blind reaction. He warned, patriotism cannot be our final spiritual shelter. My refuge is humanity. He criticized both Western imperialism and Indian fanaticism. He believed nationalism, while powerful, could become another prison, another illusion of separateness. Tagore's freedom was deeper. It meant freeing the mind from ego, freeing the soul from fear, freeing identity from the need to dominate. His was a vision of spiritual humanism, a world where no culture claimed superiority, where each soul was a note in a greater symphony, where we do not lose ourselves in others, but find ourselves through others. This is why he wrote, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. And it wasn't just India he spoke of. It was the world and the self. In 1901, Tagore founded something that didn't look like a revolution at all. It looked like a school. But Santiniketan wasn't a school in the normal sense. It was an ashram for the imagination. No walls, no uniforms, no rote memorization. Children learned under trees. They sang, danced, farmed, questioned. Science met poetry. Discipline met play. Learning meant liberation. He believed education is not about filling the mind, but freeing it. He wanted students to grow not into workers, but into whole beings. Long before the world debated holistic education, he practiced it. Long before decolonizing the curriculum was a phrase, he lived it. At Santiniketan, every subject was sacred. Even silence was part of the syllabus, because silence, too, teaches. He didn't offer a fixed ideology, he offered space. And in that space, the soul could remember its own shape. In 1913, Tagore became the first non-European to win the Nobel Prize in Literature. The world took notice, but he wore the honor like dust, lightly. He traveled the globe, not as a celebrity, but as a seeker. He met Einstein and debated the nature of reality. He walked with Gandhi, but questioned his politics. He visited Japan, Iran, America, Europe, sharing not just India, but the universal India. He saw no East, no West. He saw only spirit, clothed in many cultures. He died in 1941, but his revolution never ended, because it was never built on noise. It was built on inner clarity. While the world counted armies, he counted awakenings. While others sought power, he sought presence. He left behind no empire, but he left behind something rarer, a map, to a freedom no one can take. In a world still shouting, still divided, Tagore's voice returns, like a whisper in the wind, not to argue, not to command, but to remind. You were always free, you just forgot. And when we remember, we do not need permission to become whole. We already are. Not through conquest, but through connection. Not through domination, but through dignity. Tagore's revolution didn't end in headlines. It continues in hearts. In anyone who dares to dream without fear, and in everyone who believes the soul was meant to sing, even in silence.